Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
My name's Camden. I'm gonna be interviewing today. What's your name?
My name is Moses Espinal, and thank you for having me today.
Of course. Do you want to start by telling us a little about yourself, like what you do?
Yeah, where do we begin? So I was born in the Dominican Republic. I came to the United States when I was 9 years old. I grew up in the D.C., Maryland, Northern Virginia area. When I was 18, I joined the Marine Corps. I did 7 years and some change in the Marine Corps as an infantryman, where I deployed two times to Afghanistan, once in 2009 and then again in 2011. Left the Marine Corps in 2014 and relocated down here to southern Mississippi. So I've been here roughly 9 years, going on 10. Married, have three boys, 9, 7, and 3. And currently I'm a CPA. I have a small tax practice here in the state or here in the city, and focus mainly on personal and business tax preparation, small business consulting, tax advisory, and a good number of other miscellaneous services.
Okay. You want to tell us about the degrees, certifications, maybe your education?
Yeah, so to be an accountant, I guess there are two routes, right? You either go the community college route, do your first 2 years there, and then go over to like the state university or local university and do the additional 2 years there. Take your core business classes, your core accounting classes, and then whatever electives are required. Once you have the degree completed, you get a bachelor's of accounting or bachelor's of science in accounting. What you do from there really depends on you, right? Most people that pursue the bachelor's in accounting, after that they either go get a master's degree or they go straight into the CPA process. Now, the CPA license requires that you have 150 credit hours in business and general credits. So most students, when they're done with their bachelor's, they only sit like at around 120, 130 credits. So the master's is required, right? Now, for those that do go to the community college or had extra classes in high school, those credits, or had college classes while going to high school, those credits help you get to that 150, right? Now, the licensing process for the CPA exam, it's a very rigorous exam, very rigorous process, but so worth it, right? There are 4 exams. Each of the exams highlights one of the specialities that you can take, right? There's taxation, there's auditing, there's financial reporting, and then there's like general business concepts, which is a mixture of everything you learn in 4 years. So now, if we're talking about all the classes that you have to take to earn your degree, and however long it takes to complete the process, right? You condense all those classes into 4 exams, and it's thinking about it gives me a headache.
Yeah.
But definitely more than worth the time that's required to be put into it. Mainly because as soon as you get that license, so many doors open up for you. One, you're never wanting for a job. Like 2, you're able to find a job in just about every market, right? And at the end of the day, depending on which route you take, whether you specialize in tax, whether you're specialized in consulting, whether you specialize in advisory or fraud examinations, there are so many different ways that you can go with the license that it's like I'm surprised more people don't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds very rigorous, but definitely
Yeah.
worth the payoff. I'm aware being in the military will grant you a GI Bill. Did you use that, and has it helped you with your education and impacted your career?
No, yeah, the GI Bill was definitely a godsend. And obviously, that's an incentive that the military offers you to, or offers young people that don't necessarily have the ability to pay for college up front, or the want to take college loans out, right? So the GI Bill carried me through my associates. It paid for my bachelor's, and it paid for half of my master's.
Wow.
So overall, I would say the time that I put into the Marine Corps was more than worth it, just on that fact alone, right?
Yeah.
So I was able to, again, complete almost 3 different programs with the amount of money allocated to me from the GI Bill.
Wow. So, do you want to tell us about how it was transitioning from military life to civilian career?
Yeah, it was a, I don't know what's the right word to describe it. It was rough, right? In the Marine Corps, again, I was an infantryman, very outdoorsy, no computer access, no real technical skills that you can use in the workplace, right? And that's not to say that that's with every job, right? That's the job that I wanted to do. That's what I was passionate about. So that's the route that I went. But that kind of left me, it left me in a weird spot, mainly due to the fact that when I did get out of the service, you know, like the transferable skills that I had could only be applied in certain professions, right? I could either be a police officer, I could go join one of these government agencies, I could, and that's about it, right? So at that point, I left and I worked a couple of odd jobs in between. You know, I did, I think I worked security at a casino for a couple of months. I also, I worked retail for a year and some change, and was pretty much working full time while going through school. Now, as soon as I was able to get enough knowledge in the accounting profession through the courses that I was taking, at that point I started doing internships with various tax firms across the coast. Once those internships were done, I landed a role with a metals recyclers here in Gulfport, Mississippi, where I was kind of like the accounting manager for that office. So I think once that education portion of it was nearing its completion, I started seeing the benefits of the profession, right? So instead of working these hours in retail, I had now a job where I was doing what I was supposed to be doing from 8 to 4 p.m., right? Good benefits, good hours, and good pay. Now, my advice to anyone that's considering joining the military, right, whether it is for traveling, whether it is for the adventure, whether it is for the college benefits, right, if the intention is that you're going to do your minimum time in service, which is like that 4-year contract, if you're going to do that, you should start planning your exit strategy, right? So when you're a year or 2 years out, at that point you should say, okay, like this is what I want to do, and set up a timeline of how to get there, right? Whether it is, hey, within 6 months from my end of service date, I'm gonna apply to X amount of colleges. Within X amount of days, I'm gonna do this, right? And start prepping yourself so that when you get out of the service, that transition period, that awkwardness of the transition period doesn't get you as bad as it does when you don't have a plan.
Yeah. I never really considered how tough that switch would be from a more like rugged lifestyle in the military
Right.
to a more traditional job in the
Right.
civilian life. Do you want to explain to us how is a typical day in your career?
So it really depends. Like today, I had a meeting in Biloxi with the Biloxi Chamber of Commerce. And it was literally like a meet and greet, just networking, right? On my way home, I had a client call. We were talking about some like entity reorganization or setting up some new LLCs. I got home, logged on my computer, checked my emails, and I came here. Now I'm talking to you, right? So that's an atypical day. Generally, I get up, I go on a run, I do a workout, I take the kids to school, I come back, drink some coffee or a loaded tea because they're amazing. check my emails, plan out my day, right? And then get to work. Um, in all reality, I don't think there is um, I don't think there is a average day. Every day brings something different, and obviously, like, yeah, you got to do some general bookkeeping here and there. Yeah, you have to prepare some taxes here and there, but that's like, I think at the end of the day, it's one of the smallest those are some of the smallest areas that take up my time, right? A lot of phone calls, a lot of emails, a lot of lunches, a lot of meet and greets.
Sounds very flexible. Um, do you enjoy what you do? Like, do you have a passion for this like career choice?
I would say yes and no.
Mm.
I do love the fact that it gives me the ability to, it gives me the flexibility to do what I need to do, right? So there's really no fixed schedule. I can start working when I need to start working. I can stop working when I want to stop working, right? At the end of the day, being in this profession allows me or gives me the opportunity to pursue things that I'm really passionate about, right? One of those things being helping veterans. So through the skills that I've learned in the CPA profession, right, I'm able to use those skills to help people that need the help, right?
Of course.
So any veterans that have small businesses that they need to grow, they need funding, they need some guidance. You know, I'm able to use the skills that I've learned through being a CPA to help those individuals, right? And not just so much on the business aspect, but also on the individual side, right? Like a couple of months ago, we formed an organization called the Gulf Coast Veterans Association, and we've been going full speed since the formation, doing different stuff doing different things in the veteran community, right? Like we hosted a claims clinic where we assisted veterans. We assisted 40, 50 veterans in filing their disability claims with the VA, mainly older people older veterans that don't have the aptitude to like do something on their phone or their computer. After that, we held a couple of celebrations here in Pass Christian for Veterans Day. And then on actual Veterans Day, we hosted a pretty amazing Veterans Day parade in downtown Pass Christian, you know. And going forward, the goal is to grow the organization to a point where we really become the one-stop shop for any veteran-related need, right? Whether that's addressing homelessness in the veteran community of the Gulf Coast, whether that is helping veterans pay a bill, a mortgage, help a veteran get a hold of the VA or their congressman, or literally, if a veteran has a need, we want to be that place that they can go to get that need taken care of.
Wow.
And like I said, my job gives me the flexibility, it gives me the skills, and it gives me the network, right, to help those that need help, right?
Wow. I think it's awesome your schedule is malleable enough to still be able for you to fulfill your passions. I think that's very cool. Would you tell us about some of the advantages and disadvantages of the specific field that you work in?
Disadvantages, there are none.
Wow.
And I say that wholeheartedly. It may seem a little boring to a lot of people, right? Because they're like, you think accounting, you're like, ew, right? That's the general consensus. Most people think accountants are math gurus. We are not. Accounting is not a math-based science. It's more like a principle or a theory-based science, right? So if you're good at logic or if you're good at putting things together, you probably do really good in the accounting field, right? Again, the downside, the only downside to it, the only perceived downside, is that again people don't think it's fun or it's cool, right? I will tell you, with an accounting degree, there are so many different things you can do, right? And you don't necessarily have to get your CPA if that's not what you want to do. So generally, when you graduate college, there are two routes you can take, and those routes they kind of split off into other little forks. But you either go public accounting or you go private, right? Private being, hey, I'm gonna go be a corporate accountant for Mississippi Power, or I'm gonna be a accountant for the Beau Rivage. If you go that route, um, your career progression is you start off as a staff accountant, you move up to a senior accountant, manager, controller, CFO, right? That's the if you go the corporate route. If you go the public accounting route, you can either specialize in audit or you specialize in tax. And then some specialize in like advisory and consulting, right? With the audit and tax portion of it, you come in as an associate, move up to a senior, manager, director, and then partner, right? Now the speed as to how fast you go through the ranks heavily depends on what kind of industry you're in. If you're in public accounting, your progression is pretty rapid, right? Because you're learning a lot, you're touching a lot of clients, you're being exposed to a lot of information at once. So by the end of your like second, third year in public accounting, you pretty much know just about everything you need to know about accounting for certain industries, right? Whether that's banking, insurance, oil and gas, or whatnot, right? So it it depends on which route you go with.
Would you say you work with other types of career professionals in like the course of your job?
Yes, and I think that's a must for regardless of whatever field you go into. I think you wanna surround yourself with other professionals, right? And in theory, every person should have a best friend that's an accountant, a best friend that's a lawyer, a best friend that's a banker, and a best friend that's in insurance. And if you have those four things, right, and a doctor, in case somebody messes you up. No, I'm just playing. No, but if you have those four things in your network, that pretty much completes like everything you need to successfully run a business, right? So I would say my clients, they vary between the individual taxpayer to specializations, right? I have a couple of lawyers, I have a few wealth management clients, clients in construction, clients in, off the wall industries, right? That you wouldn't think would make money, but they are there. So yeah, so I would say my profession exposes me to a wide range of like different professionals just because of the services that I do offer.
Do you want to explain to us maybe what kind of salary range is to be expected from somebody in your field?
Okay, and great question. And that, again, that depends on which route you take, right?
Of course.
If you go the corporate route, that's going to be dictated by the size of your company. That's going to be dictated by your position within the company, and then so if we're talking about like base salary for an accountant graduating, a fresh accountant graduating, no experience, they're generally looking at, or last time I checked, on the corporate side, you're generally looking at like 60 to 70,000, depending on the company and the cost of living for the area that you're in. Obviously, 60,000 here in Mississippi is going to equal to like 75,000 in Seattle, right? If you go the public accounting route, generally the new associates are starting at 65, 70. And again, that's going to be based off one, how big the firm is, and then two, your location. Now, most people do public accounting with these big accounting firms, and then they leave and they either go the corporate route or they start their own practices. If you start your own practice, the level of income or your salary, right, it's on you, right? How hungry are you to get new clients? How hungry are you to retain those clients? What are you doing to promote yourself, right? And if you're really good at advertising, and if you're really good at selling your services, at that point, like, there is no cap to how much you can make. You can make $20,000, or you can make $300,000 in a year. It depends on, again, how hungry you are for it.
Yeah.
On both ends, though, I would say that while the starting salaries may not be the most attractive, the growth in salary is pretty quick, right?
Yeah.
So I would say when I graduated college, the starting salary with one of the big firms was like 55,000 or 55.5, something silly. But within 5 years, like, I had tripled that amount, right? So there's while it may not seem attractive in the beginning, the more experienced you are, and again, the hungrier you are, the more that income grows, right?
Okay. Is there like some kind of advice you would give to somebody who would want to maybe pursue a similar field to you, or maybe general career advice that you would want to give to a student?
So I think with any career path that a student may take, the best advice I can give is you don't have to be super passionate about a career field to go into that career field, right? If you have the aptitude to complete the coursework, focus on the task and complete it, right? That career field, whatever it may be, whether it's accounting, whether it is marketing, whether it is general business, right? That career field, if you're hungry enough for the work and if you're hungry enough for the growth, is gonna allow you to pursue your true passions, right?
Of course.
At the end of the day, we don't want to say that one degree is better than another one, but we have to be realistic and say, in 4 years, when I'm done with this degree, am I going to be able to make the money that I need to survive? And if the realistic answer is a no, you may want to pursue something else, right? And again, not discouraging anyone to not pursue something they're passionate about, but also understanding that the world that you guys are growing up in is pretty expensive,
Yeah.
right? And what you have to look at is how many people are taking this degree, how many professionals are there in this field, what is the average national salary for this field, what is the local salary for this field, can I feed myself and a family eventually if I pursue this career option? And if the answer is no to all those questions, some reevaluation may be needed. And lastly, like some of these more technical professions, they may seem hard, but I promise you, like, it's not harder than anything else you're being taught in high school, if you actually focus and apply it.
That's all my questions for you. Do you have any final closing comments or?
Well, no, thank you so much for having me here today. Again, I've had a pretty amazing journey coming here to the U.S., joining the Marine Corps, being a professional here on the Gulf Coast, and now being the president and founder of this nonprofit. So my final advice to those that are undecided whether they want to go to school or not, if you decide that school is not currently your thing, go join a military service, go travel the world, go experience what this country has to offer, and then go to school. Everybody, if you don't go to college, get a trade. But don't waste your early years on nothing. And that's pretty much it.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you for having me.
I loved hearing your story. Thank you for your service as well.
Thank you.
I very much appreciate that.
Thank you. Appreciate you.